For today's video, we're going to just take this piece of scrap wood. I sanded it pretty smooth, and I've covered this side here with painter's tape. What I'm about to do next is then take and glue this pattern onto here. And then I'm going to cut this all out with my scroll saw. And then this cutout will be painted it's going to be painted a darker green, almost to the point of black. It is just going to be a silhouette. And then we're going to mount that to a surface. And this is for someone that it's for a gift for someone, not for myself. It's a commission piece that someone purchased from me, and I wanted to get this finished before the holidays hit. So let's get started. Hi to everybody. How are you all doing? Good, I hope. So as I showed you, this video is going to be, it's going to be fairly short. The longest part of this is going to be the scroll saw work. But even then, with this piece, there isn't a whole lot to it. It is going to take some time to go around the leaves and what have you, but it's very relaxing. You can go ahead and throw on your favorite music, just kick back and cut away. It truly is fun. Let me go ahead and show you what I've put together too for the background, because once I cut this out and get the silhouette painted, I have to mount it to something. And typically I mount my these pieces to reclaimed wood. It's just, the wood is very inexpensive, if not free, to get almost anywhere. Look on your Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, wherever, in the trash as you're driving down the street. Anybody you know that's taking down an old cedar fence, grab those fence posts. They're great. So let me grab the piece of wood that I've got here that we're using for this. This, like I said, is a commissioned piece that somebody asked me to do, and they asked for a specific background that is not my traditional reclaimed lumber. I'll be right back. So when I said it's not my traditional reclaimed lumber, this is in fact reclaimed lumber. It is reclaimed flooring that is just leftover pieces that someone put in a wood floor. They were throwing all of these out. I have a large, like 20-gallon Tupperware tub or Rubbermaid tub that's full of this stuff, and it's great. The pieces are small. They're, you know, the longest piece is probably like this one here. That's maybe 14 inches tops. So they're not super great to put into. I can't make a floor out of it. There's not enough, first of all, and the pieces are, you know, a lot of them have the edges cut off, so you'd have to do something about getting these pieces to fit in. It works fine for me. I've glued it up. I went ahead and clamped it so that it's all put together and it's dry now. So what I'll do next is I'm going to go ahead and get this sanded smooth, get the surface finish off of here, or at least way down from where you're seeing it now. You can see by the shine of the light that this is a pretty glossy piece, and I don't want that. And then what will happen is this cutout will go in here like so, and then some of these pieces are going to get cut down, so it's not, they'll still stick out like you're seeing them, but it's not going to be nearly as much as that. And I think we're going to look good. So let me get started on one of these things, either cutting it out on the scroll saw or getting this piece sanded and ready to go. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start cutting this out. I like to slow my speed down on this detail stuff so I don't go too fast, and I don't want to overcut. I mean, it's okay if you do a little bit. You're really just following lines and what have you, but invariably you're going to undercut or overcut. Undercutting is okay if you can get into there and clean up your work. Overcutting can be disastrous, or you can hide it. There's really no in between on those. So we'll go ahead and I'm going to get all these little inner parts cut out right now so that you can see what we have here. I've got this one to cut out, this one to cut out, and then these. Ooh, I forgot to put a hole there, so let me go do that. I have one here, 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 and I need to go drill a hole for that. I'm going to get those cut out, and then I'll come back. all the little holes are cut out. So that's good. So now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and start cutting out around this. One thing I like to do when I have something like this is I want to be careful. I don't want to cut out this section or this section yet, because these branches will break easily, and I'll save this kind of for near the end as well, because if you're not careful, you can snap these pieces right off. So let me go ahead and get started on this. So you can see, just slow and steady, and start pulling these pieces out. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is, this leaf is not attached to anything. It's just free. So when we cut this kind of thing out, you want to be careful, number one, that if it's really small, you don't want it to go down in the hole here, easy to lose. And when you do get it off, you want to make sure you put it someplace very safe so that you do not forget where you put it. Speaking from experience, just saying. And then when I can, I like to get the template off and the tape off so it doesn't adhere and cause you to get a lot of sticky material on there. See what happens? Just what I said I didn't want to happen. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this off. The good news is that we can just attach this and glue it down, and you're never going to know that it happened. But this is what happens when I try to do something that I said I shouldn't be doing, and that is to, first of all, that's awfully thin, and I should have waited before I got to that point. So, lesson learned. And you got to be careful when you're holding it. Don't hold on to pieces that are loose out like that. Getting there, slow but sure. Not much more to get cut out. One final section right in here. And when I had the camera off, I put my hand right on one of these that is right here and broke that one off. So I'm only really showing you that so you can see how easy it can happen. I know you're not going to believe that, but it's okay. Last piece. Total destruction. All easily fixed. I'll show you. And once we have it all glued together, you can't even tell what was broken. So we're going to let this all dry. It is not glued to this base yet. I need to first paint this piece here and get it all finished, and then we'll go ahead and attach it to this. Well, I've got the background is done, and I've got some stain on it. It really does look pretty much the same, but it is slightly different. It's a warmer tone. This is all ready to go with these extra leaves that I'll be putting in their places where they belong. I'm going to go ahead right now and get this one, get the silhouette part painted and get this onto the, once it dries, we'll be able to get it right on here. So I'll be right back. All right, so I've got the paint out and I'm ready to go on painting it. This piece as a silhouette can be any color you want. I mean, you can go black. That's normal for a silhouette. But what I wanted to do is I wanted this to have, and it's going to be very minimal to see this, but it does have a hint of green in it. I did add green to my black, and you're going to see this is awfully dark. A lot of people just say, "Hey Ed, that's just black," but in reality, it's not. I've got some green tint to it. Once this dries, it should have a little bit nicer of a look. It's not going to be solid black, and it's going to give just the idea that it is greenery that we're doing here. So you don't have to do it this way. You can do this any color you want, and again, you could just use straight solid black as a silhouette. It just depends on what your background is going to be, what it's sitting on, or what it's mounted to is how I should term that. So I'm just going to go ahead and we'll just go through this entire piece, and we're going to paint the sides and we're going to paint the top. And I want to try my best not to get anything on the bottom where the glue goes, because I need something for the glue to stick to, and glue has a difficult time sometimes adhering to paint. And I'm doing this on the bottom here too, because I do want to make sure I get all of the sides hit, so that when you look at it, you're not going to see any of the wood coming through on this cutout piece. So I'll be right back once we get to the end. So you can see I'm moving along here. I'm getting quite a bit further on it, and it does take a little bit of time to get in all the little spots. You want to look on both sides. You want to make sure that you don't have any wood showing anywhere, because you just don't want that. It just doesn't look finished, and it kind of sticks out pretty big when you see that, especially when you've got something this dark that you're doing. All right, all done. Very happy with that. I love the way this looks. I'm not sure how well it shows up on camera here, but I'm telling you what, it's got just this hint of a green, a very deep, dark green, and that's exactly what I was going for. So we'll let this dry and we'll get it mounted onto our floor pieces, our reclaimed flooring. And once that's all dried up, then we move on to the last step, and that's put a coat of polyacrylic over it to seal the whole thing in. So I've gone ahead and mounted this on here, got my glue on. It's not completely dry yet, and I'm not too worried about what's sticking out that you see that's squeezed out. I could take some time to try to wipe that up, but I'll end up moving it and smearing it more. So instead, I'm just going to let that dry. This is it's a Titebond glue, and it's called Quick and Thick, and it dries completely clear. So I'm not going to worry about it. So once this has dried, then I will go ahead and put my poly coat on here that I've got. It's polyacrylic actually, and it's a matte finish. And then what I'll do is, once that's completely dry, I'll take the my gloss finish and just put on the top here. So everything here is going to be a matte surface, and this will end up being a gloss surface. So we'll come back when I'm ready to put that on. So here's kind of the final step. I'm going to go ahead and put this clear satin polyacrylic here on this to put a finish coat. And then I'm still deciding if and I'll wait and see how it dries and how it looks before I make this final decision, is to then maybe put a gloss coat over top so that kind of stands out. But really all I'm going to be doing right now is getting into all the cracks and crevices, make sure that I get the sides done, just so the whole thing is completely coated as best that I can do with this. And as you can see, I mean, I guess I can get a smaller brush if I wanted to, but this is just fine. Don't worry about how this looks sort of bubbly. It's how this stuff goes on. It does dry very, very smooth, and it has a beautiful finish. The other nice thing I like about this is it doesn't have an odor. This polyacrylic, it's it's so nice to use in a confined space because you have way less fumes from this stuff. As a matter of fact, I can't even smell it right now, and I'm right here. I'm right next to it, so super nice in that respect. I'm getting to the end of getting the cutout part done, the silhouette. So that would be the hardest part of this, is to get in and around all of this so that this whole thing is completely covered. Lastly, I want to just go ahead and do a nice layer across the whole thing like this. And it's just, this is pretty simple. Just brush it on just like you would normal coating, a normal finish. And it does a super nice job. Now, again, what I'll do is I need to do the sides here, but I'm not going to do that yet. I want this whole thing right now to dry up on me, get it nice and drying, and see where I stand as far as if I need another coat of this. It says that you want to do 2 to 3 coats. Sometimes I'm just lazy and I just do one. I think it looks just fine. These are this is an indoor finish. It's not meant for outdoors. So, you know, the only thing you're doing with that other coat is giving it just a nicer looking finish, if that's what you're really wanting to go for. There is that super nice clean finish. Um, Sometimes I go for that, and again, it just really does depend on what the final product looks like once it's dry. I mean, you're not going to know, because right now this looks super glossy, and that's not the look I'm going for all of this. I want the flooring to be way less shiny. I want it to be more of a satin look to it. And again, this might be okay because this has texture to it. It's the type of wood I used to cut. It was press board, so and you could use whatever you want. I mean, if you've got some real thin ply that you have, you can use that. It'll do just as good. So now let's just let this thing dry, and we'll go from there. Then I'll do these sides here. I'll put a hanger on it, and it's done, unless I do again decide to do that gloss coat on top of here. All right, so as you can see, I've placed the second coat of the matte finish, or the satin finish, I should say, on here, but I didn't put it on top of the silhouette, and I have decided to go ahead and put some of the gloss on here. So that's what I'm going to do now. Is I'm going to go ahead and just on this top surface, just going to go ahead and put the gloss polyacrylic, just to give it a little bit more of a contrast, a little bit more of a pop. I do like the way this looks as is, so you could do it either way. If you don't have the money, or you don't have both types of these finishes, you can just go ahead and just do the one, and you'll be just fine. This stuff is not real cheap. It's almost $25 for a quart, but it does last a long time. I think my quarts typically last well more than 6 months, just on the small amount of things that I'm doing. So if you're not doing a whole ton, if you're only doing a couple, you may not even want to get the quart. You may want to get the little tiny pint ones, because if you don't do a lot, that quart's going to go bad. And by bad, usually what happens is it thickens up and becomes not very easy to use. So it doesn't spread as nice. So keep in mind when you're buying this stuff to figure out what you think you're going to be doing. If you're only doing a few projects a year, the pint is going to be way more than enough for your needs. So there it is, completely finished. Now we just need to let it dry. I'll flip it over, I'll sign it, and this project is complete. So thanks for watching. And there we have the finished piece. Hopefully you can see that the background has a satin look to it, and then the cutout silhouette is a nice high gloss, and it just makes that thing pop right off of there. All right, we're all done. Perfect.